Yeah, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, see the first question of the day. Describe the characteristics and types of primary rocks. Describe the characteristics and types of primary rocks. A very straightforward question. Everyone will have content for this. Just take 2 minutes and give the framework and the answer. Yeah. Decent points, Rajni. So the question is like this. Characteristics and types of primary rocks. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Characteristics and types of primary rocks. So what is basically, again, a very straightforward question. We all know there are different types of rock formations: primary, sedimentary, and metamorphic. I hope all of you know this. So, and then due to various conditions, primary will become secondary, sedimentary, primary can directly become metamorphic, or metamorphic can become primary, and then metamorphic can become secondary. So this is called rock cycle. Very important in geography. This particular diagram is called rock cycle. So due to extreme heat, pressure and temperature, any of the form can change into any of the form. This is important as far as the objective is also concerned. Okay. What many aspirants think is it is a linear stage, primary to secondary to metamorphic. No. This can directly happen. This can directly happen. This can happen, or this can also happen. Okay. So please make a note of it. Now coming to the question, they are asking you what are the characteristics and types. So first part of the question is are the characteristics. Second part is the types. So they are asking you specifically regarding the primary rocks. So in this context, you need not write about secondary or metamorphic rocks. So, and moreover, it's a 150-word question. So don't waste your time and energy. Straight away come to the intro. Okay. What is the other name for primary rocks? Primary rocks are also called as igneous rocks. Why? Because they are formed due to solidification of magma or lava. Basically, magma or lava are related to the volcanic activity. So this can be your introduction. So in the body, straight away come to with the side heading characteristics of igneous rocks. So obviously igneous rocks are formed due to magma or lava activity, and hence we know that magma or lava is not something which is coming from extreme pressure or from many ages. It is recent, it is a fresh activity, and hence they are very fine in texture. They are fine in texture, and because of the volcanic activity, they look very glossy after cooling down. So some of the examples like granite, if you see, when you polish the granite, it looks very glossy. Okay. And then generally there are no fossil fuels. Like in the sedimentary rocks, there are no fossil here. Okay. And then they contain lot of minerals. because they are an outcome of volcanic eruption. They have a lot of minerals. Okay. And then mostly seen in Earth's crust. So these igneous rocks or primary rocks are mostly seen in Earth's crust. So these are the basic characteristics. So what are the types of primary rocks? So we all know the primary rocks are further divided into two categories. One is intrusive, another is exclusive. So what are intrusive, what are exclusive? Intrusive, as the meaning goes, they are basically inside, they form inside the earth. So what is the famous example of this? Granite. Okay, and then what is the characteristics of granite? Very fine texture, glossy finish. Okay, these are the important characteristics of granite. So then what is extrusive? Sorry, this is not exclusive, this is extrusive. Extrusive rocks. What are extrusive rocks? Basically, they are the ones which cool down after volcanic activity. The famous example is basalt. Okay, basalt. So they are much more finer than intrusive rocks. Okay, so the example is basalt. These are the various classifications, okay, based on intrusive and extrusive characteristics of the rocks. Okay, and basically one more characteristic is they do not have no organic matter. There is no organic matter within this particular rocks. Okay, and then as we told, mostly found in the earth's crust. Okay, so in the conclusion you can write the primary rocks or the igneous rocks are the basic level rocks and temperature or pressure gradient on these will help them transform into sedimentary or metamorphic rocks. Okay, this can be the conclusion. So in this process, if you want to add any diagram, okay, you can draw the diagram of intrusive or extrusive rocks. Okay, you can draw a diagram of intrusive, maybe, you know, because we are talking about more of a volcanic activity, you can just draw a volcano like this. Okay, a volcano, so these are the extrusive rocks. So the rocks which are formed after the volcanic. So somewhere inside will be the intrusive rocks. As I told you, geography is all about presentation, diagrams. So here you can write example granite, example basalt. That's all. This obviously this diagram will be above the conclusion. So just don't get confused. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So who has written answers today? Rajni, I have seen yesterday. Prashanti. Okay. So Sumant, you are saying based on the silica content. So based on the silica content, you want to classify them as acidic or basic, something of that sort.
Yes, sir. Acidic and basic.
Okay, yeah. So silica content means that will be thing. So high silica content will be acidic and low silica content will be basic, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is also one good classification. You can add this. So based on the silica content, Sumant is saying. So on that basis, you can say like, high silica content will be acidic and low silica content will be basic. Okay. And basically the rocks with low silica content will be more, having more heavier metals. Okay. And then with high acidic content will be having low metal contents. And acidic example is again granite. And if it is about basic, it's again basalt. Okay. So in that only extrusive or intrusive, and then you can add one more classification of acidic and basic. So apart from this, if you want, you can write acidic and basic. Acidic will be around 70 to 80% silica content. This will be having 30 to 40% silica content. This is silica content. Silica is a like raw material. So here there are more heavier metals in the composition. Here there are lighter metals. Okay, and again the example here for acidic is granite, and for basic it is again basalt. Okay, so this can be one more classification. So just keep adding the points. The more number of points you add, the more enrichment you do to your answer. See the sixth question. Mention the significance of straits and isthmus in international trade. Okay, take 2 minutes. So very good points, Rajni and Sumant, both of you. So the question says, mention the significance of straits and isthmus in international trade. So significance of straits and isthmus. So the question is, in international trade. This is the question. So Sumant gave a point saying that close to 80% of international trade happens through either straits or isthmus. And then who has given this? UNCTAD. So one of the legitimate bodies to speak about the sea trade. Okay, you can start your introduction with these kind of punchlines. Okay, or if you don't remember such stats, this is introduction 1. Means you can do introduction like this. This is like a punchline introduction where you are informing the examiner that you know certain stats. Okay, definitely impressive. Second is conventional way of writing definition of a strait. What is a strait? It's a narrow water body connecting two large water bodies. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
It's a narrow water body, narrow passage of water, narrow passage or narrow water body. Okay, connecting two large water bodies. And then what is isthmus? Isthmus is a narrow piece of land joining two big land masses or two big lands. Joining two big land masses. So obviously when you are mentioning such things, give the example of Palk Strait, very easy example which all of you can mention or even inform the examiner to you can say this is Palk Strait, or maybe if you can come further south, here you have Strait of Malacca. Obviously you need to draw this and inform the examiner. And for isthmus, obviously one of the very famous example is this can be your North America remotely joined to South America. This is North America, South America. This is Isthmus of Panama. So this is one of the isthmus which is very famous and generally everyone remembers. So this is way of introduction 2. Okay, even after introduction 1, okay, you should still come to 2. Sumant, are you understanding? Even if you start
Yes,
with
sir.
this, you should still come to 2 because 2 is the heart of the question. This is the heart of the question. You have to write the definitions of strait and isthmus in this question. Just because sir told to avoid unnecessary things, don't dare to avoid the definitions also in this particular question, because the question is saying what is the significance of strait and isthmus. Unless you inform the examiner what is strait, what is isthmus, and you should know that you know this difference. It is your responsibility to give the definition of these two. Unless you are not having any time, maybe if you have to write this answer in 1 minute, then maybe you can, even then if you want to score some 2 or 3 brownie points, you can simply write side heading of significance of straits or isthmus in international trade. But I am sorry to say, if you are in a position that you have to write only this part of the answer because of time constraint, you have made a very poor planning of your mains paper, because this is considered to be one of the easiest question in a mains exam, and this has to be attempted in your top 10 answers. Because here, if you write all the relevant content, the examiner will not be forced to cut marks randomly. If you write a decent and above average answer, if it's a 10 marker, you may get anywhere near 4.5 to 5 marks. If you end up writing only significance, you will get 1.5 to 2 marks. So this such answers with diagrams and all, if you draw, you can easily score above 5 marks. So such answers you have to identify. That's why they say don't be in a rush to answer all the 20 questions. The moment it's like not like a running race. Of course it is a race, but it is a smart race. First read all the 20 questions, choose your top 10, first write them, And then in the 20, you may not know 3 or 4 questions. So potentially you know only 15 to 16 questions. In those, again, you know 10 very well. First, write them. This 5 and 6 will come in the second stage. And the answers for which the 3 or 4 questions you don't know, this will come in the last stage. And if you don't know anything, if you don't know absolutely anything, better to leave that question. Don't, because the hard work you have put in 15 to 16 questions will make you look like a fool in this question. It will look like a desperate attempt by you to score some 1 or 2 marks, which the examiner may not appreciate. If you are honest in leaving this question for which you don't have any clue means absolutely no clue, better to leave it. Is it clear what I have told? Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Because for geography, there is nothing significant that I am going to add a lot of value to your answers, because your answers will be almost 90 to 95% of what even I know. Geography is such a subject. So hence I am trying to give you other inputs as to regarding presentation and exam orientation. That is much more useful than the content. So coming to the next part of the question, that will be the significance. So obviously, what is the significance? Rajni has mentioned many valuable points. Okay, so if you don't know this stat, let's assume you don't know this stat. Even now, you can still write here without any stat. You can say the maximum amount of trade. Don't write 80% because you don't know the 80%. The maximum amount of world trade happens through straits and isthmus. So you are again trying to say that here you don't know the stat, but maximum amount of world trade, it's a fair word. No one can deny it. Okay, and then what is the other significance? Reduced distances between various countries. Okay, and they are hubs for international trade. They are used for strategic purposes. Okay, and then some of the world's biggest export countries are having access to these straits. Okay, and then some of the straits or isthmus are considered to be natural harbor points. Okay, so they reduce the fuel of shipping and hence indirectly save transport cost, and then reduce the emissions to certain extent. Okay, and then sometimes this can also be fishing grounds. Okay, so these are some of the important significance of these straits. Okay, so obviously you have to draw the diagrams in this particular answer. There is no doubt about it. And then you can conclude saying that they are the natural formations which have been really helpful in facilitating and maintaining the international trade. Is it clear, everyone? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So Shanta, Rajni, Navya, we have done yours yesterday. So today Prashanti is done. Anil and Sumant. Sumant, you have written this?
Yes, sir. I have written it.
Okay, you have mentioned the same stat here. Good. So this is one way of introducing, but see, not every time you remember a stat. So if you can remember a stat and mention it, will be one of the very powerful introductions. But then if you are going with a stat, be very confident about what you are writing. If the stat is misfiring, then the entire answer can go wrong, because the examiner will not be in a position to spare you. Oh, you have loaded entire answer with facts. You can write few more applications, Suman. So few more applications or significance.
Yes, sir.
I personally don't know the stats, but are you sure about the stats?
Yes, sir. Like I simply wrote I simply searched the coastline of South America, sir. If there is no Isthmus of Panama, every ship has to travel through the entire coastline of South America in order to pass through Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean, which is on the left of the continent. So
even this Malacca Strait, you
I have
are confident? 50,000 ships carrying 10,000 tons.
Yes, sir. Recently, I was preparing for IR. So, in IR, State of Malacca, the string of pearls and all of these come in. So, State of Malacca, I was studying there. So, I was confident about that stat, sir.
Okay, okay. See, my suggestion to everyone, see, he remembered stats he has written. But my humble submission is, if you don't remember these kind of stats, don't attempt them. Because if the examiner is not aware, okay, it may simply like look, okay, wow. But if the examiner is aware, and then if you are writing what the fact is, even then it looks really good. And then if the examiner is aware, and if you are writing wrong, it can go really bad. Okay. So, and obviously examiner will be having a model key. That is what we understand. So he may have some stats. So if you're trying to write some stats, be very confident about it. Of course, writing facts and stats will be always a edge which you may have. Okay, let's get the conclusion. So just add few points as we discussed, Suman. In the chart window, Rajni has given few points. You can see that. So even those are the significance of the straits and isthmus. Clear?
Yes, sir. But the question was clearly asking about international trade. So,
Yeah.
would it be okay if we write fishing grounds, aquaculture, and blue economy
1 minute.
in the context? Yes, sir.
Why I am trying to say that will be relevant here is, you just see the screen which I am trying to highlight. How many marks is this question about? 250 words. Okay. So you already, what content you have written is only for 150 or 200 words. So if you have to add that dimension as what Rajni has informed, you can say simply further to international trade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Understood? This can be a micro dimension. I am not saying this to glorify. Okay. Your major dimension will be international trade only. You will write significantly about international trade. And just to give another dimension, you are saying further to international trade, straits and isthmus are having these applications also. And then conclude. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because it's a 250 word. If it's a 150 word, you will not have so much time or space to write. Okay? See the seventh question. Explain the factors responsible for origin of ocean currents. How do they influence regional climates, fishing and navigation? So again, two parts of the question. Be very careful while attempting questions in geography, because the questions will be having multiple dimensions. And even in the second part of the question, you have how do they influence regional climates, part A, fishing, part B, navigation, part C. So potentially this is having almost 5 dimensions. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Potentially this is having 5 dimensions. Within the second dimensions, you are further having 3 more dimensions. So unless you answer all these parts of the question, you cannot expect full marks. Whatever is the full mark, if it's a 200 word, it must have been 12.5 marks in 2015. So out of 12.5, 8 is the highest. 8 out of 12.5 is the highest. Unless you write all these dimensions, you will not get 8 marks. What majority of the students unfortunately do during the examination is, for part 1, they will write a brilliant answer. In part 2, they will write only about regional climate and then conclude. But the examiner is looking for these dimensions also. So I am again saying, if you write average part 1, average part 2, and in part 2 if you address all the 3, so average and average actually becomes above average answer. And if you don't get 8, at least you'll get 7, 7.5, because you have answered all dimensions of the question. But if you do extraordinary, excellent part 1, and in regional climate you write excellent answer, excellent plus excellent, even then it becomes average, and you may get only 6 marks because you have not addressed 2 other dimensions. I hope I'm making sense and you're all able to understand what I'm trying to say. Okay? Is it clear? Everyone, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. You just take 2 minutes and do this question. Yeah, Rajni, again, good points. Okay, so yes, you have addressed all the dimensions of the question. That is what is needed. So what is the question about? So question is having again many subsets of the question. So what is factors responsible for ocean currents? First question. In the second part, how do these ocean currents influence? What they influence? Regional climate, fishing, navigation. So this is how you have to break down the question. Then there is a probability that you will not miss, possibility that you will not miss any part of the question. So introduction with the definition of ocean currents. What are ocean currents? They are continuous movements of the oceanic water. Okay. Generally, they are horizontal movements. Ocean currents are horizontal movements, and they are continuous in nature. So, coming to the body. Here, at the right hand side, you can simply draw, like, North America, South America, Europe, and then, what are in the ocean currents, they are hot streams and cold streams. So what are the hot streams, cold streams? So 1 or 2, if you mention, your answer will be, you know that there is a Labrador current, there is Gulf Stream. So all these, if 1 or 2, if you can mention, your answer will be becoming much more appealing and informative to the examiner, because the other points, anyhow, most of the aspirants, serious aspirants, are going to supposedly write. So if you want to differentiate, again, try this. So first, coming directly to the factors responsible for ocean currents. So again, you can mention all the factors at one go, or as Rajni has given the breakup, it's a better way of giving what are the primary factors, what are the secondary factors. So what are the primary factors? Wind, heat, gravity. So all the natural forces. Okay, and then the Coriolis force. These are the primary factors. Secondary factors are salinity of water. Okay, temperature of water. All these are secondary factors. So this is the first part of the question. Then what is the second part? Influence of ocean currents. So by the way, when you are mentioning these factors, you have to write about them also. For example, wind. How is the wind helping? Wind directions will help in the flow of ocean currents. Okay. How is heat going to be saying? Heat is going to create evaporation or temperature increase in the water. Okay. It creates the temperature gradient, or it helps in the flow of ocean currents towards more colder places. Gravitational force, it tends to pull the water down. Coriolis force, in the northern hemisphere it is right, in the southern hemisphere it is left. This is the Coriolis force. This will help in the ocean currents. And then the secondary factor, salinity. Okay, it affects the mobility of the water, temperature gradient of the water, how the water will move from hot areas to cold areas. All these you are supposed to mention. Don't simply give like this and come out, because it will look very unfinished. So then influence on the ocean current. So what is the first part? It is asking about the regional climate. So what is the influence on regional climate? So what is the influence of regional climate? Generally, warm currents raise the temperature, cold currents decrease the temperature. Okay. In fact, yeah, that is one point. And then next, what is it? Fishing. Fishing. Wherever warm and cold currents meet, those are ideal grounds for fishing. Why? Because lot of plankton grows at these areas. Okay. So that is on the fishing. And then navigation. Okay. The European ports, especially the Scandinavian ports, are generally, even during the deep winter, they are accessible sometimes because of the warm ocean currents. And hence, these currents support the navigation also. Okay. So basically, and then conclude saying that ocean currents are the natural phenomenon which have huge impact on various aspects of climate, and trade. Clear? Clear, everyone? Am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Audible, sir. Clear.
See. I am 100% sure 80% of you must have written what Anil has written. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So conclusion is missing. And then if possible, draw a diagram of North America, South America, Atlantic Ocean, or if you remember Indian parts, draw the Gulf of Stream, Labrador Current and all. So it will look much more attractive. See, how do you want to set your answer differently from others? You can see, not necessarily what I'm saying you have to implement. You can do your own innovation also, which is always welcome. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So see the last question of the day. Account for various variations in oceanic salinity. Discuss its multi-dimensional effect. Again, two parts in the question. Yeah. Good points, Rajni. Okay. Yeah. Good points, Navya. Yes, the coral angle is important. Good. That is a very good angle. Right. So what is the question? Again, question is having two parts. Question is asking you what are the reasons for variations in oceanic salinity and what are its the first part of the question. Second part is multi-dimensional effect. Multi-dimensional effect. So in the introduction, come straightforward to define what is oceanic salinity. It is basically the amount of salt dissolved or salt content in the ocean water. And you can mention the stat, the average oceanic salinity. How much is it? Anyone?
35 ppm.
35 to 37%. It is 37% average, but it is average 35 to 37%. Okay, this is the average oceanic salinity. Okay, so this is the introduction. So in the body, come to the straight first part of the question. What are the reasons for variations in oceanic salinity? So what are the reasons? Reasons are the first reason is the latitude. Latitude. What do you mean by latitude? If the ocean is near the equator or pole. Okay. So between equator and pole, in between equator and pole, oceans are having more salinity. But at equator, it is having less, and at pole also it is having less, because at pole it is in a frozen form and there is, the fresh water content is more in the frozen form, and at the equator, because of the continuous rainfall of convectional rainfall, there is a lot of water which is coming and mixing with the oceans near the equator, and hence the salinity, average salinity is less. Salinity is there, average salinity is less. And then what is the other thing? Other thing is addition of fresh water. Addition of fresh water. So if more rivers are coming and joining the ocean or sea, it becomes less in salinity, and vice versa. So here you can give the example of India. One is the Bay of Bengal and another is Arabian Sea. Bay of Bengal is less in salinity when compared to Arabian Sea. And then the next important point is depth of the ocean, and salt water is more dense, and with the increase in the depth, as the depth increases, salinity also increases. Okay. And then the last point is open or closed seas. Open seas are less in salinity when compared to closed seas. Examples you can write as Dead Sea, Black Sea, etc. These are the variations of salinity. Now, the next part is what is the multi-dimensional effect of this salinity? What is the multi-dimensional effect of this salinity? Basically, the salinity decides the temperature, has an effect on temperature of that area. Okay, it has an effect on ocean currents. It has effect on the plankton because high salinity reduces the plankton, and then it has a direct effect on coral reefs. So high salinity again will reduce coral reefs. Okay. So, and then it also impacts the shipping costs because traveling in more dense water will obviously impact the fuel charges. So shipping charges have an impact due to salinity, and various, and in fact you can say biodiversity of the ocean is directly impacted due to salinity. Okay, these are some of the effects of the salinity. Okay, in the conclusion you can write the thermohaline or isohaline graph of oceans plays an important role in facilitating the lives of creatures both below and above the sea. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So who has written? Prashanti. We have seen Prashanti's answer. Anil, we have seen. Sumant, we have seen. Raghuram. You have written Raghuram?
Yes, sir.
Good introduction. So more or less everyone is writing standard introduction. It's a good thing. Yeah, highest salinity in tropics. So when I said between equator and pole, it is tropics. Yes, depth. Yes, latitudes. Some more points as we discussed, you can write. Raghu?
Okay, sir.
impacts water cycle, ocean circulation, climate change, marine life and resources. Please mention the point of corals. Corals is very important in the oceanic life and also ocean currents.
Yes, sir.
And then conclusion is missing. Raghu? Okay?
Okay, sir.
Percentage also it is 37, I think. Shanta Prasad? Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, 37 you mean to say ppm, parts per million, no? Okay,
Parts
but
per
generally-
thousand, sir.
Parts per thousand, but generally even percentage wise also we refer it as 37%. It's not a harm if you write 37%. Okay,
Okay, sir.
fine. So we'll again catch up tomorrow with few more questions. With regard to geography, my only tip for all you people is the same thing, that please maintain the presentation, draw the diagrams, and try to make conscious effort about it. Okay, good night.